LL221 Tel Aviv Tower, you are clear for takeoff on runway 21.
Today is Thursday, May 21st, the 27th of ER 5780, and this is Canadian Jewish Views. Part politics, part art, part culture, part Israel, all Canadian. On today's show, Sara Lefton, UJA Federation of Greater Toronto, Kathy Assayag, Jewish Community Foundation of Montreal, and from Israel, Eran Shayshon, CEO, Reut Institute. Plus, words of wisdom from Rabbi Bulka in Ottawa.
LL221 Toronto Tower, you are cleared to land on runway 33 right. Welcome to Canada. Welcome home.
I'm your host, Martin Sampson. That applause is not real. I'm in my basement. If you, like me, believe that the Jewish community in Canada is interesting, worth exploring, and worthy of supporting, keep watching. If you don't, I had this great joke where I was going to tell you to go jump in a lake in Yiddish, Nemzichavane. But instead, I'm going to warmly invite you, Hi Sha Ahu Bim Kom Chem, and maybe you'll give us a chance to change your mind. On this show, we're going to travel through the Jewish community in Canada and around the world. But let's get something straight. We're not news. We're views. Canadian Jewish views. Some will say, you're biased. To that we respond, you're right. We're biased towards the Jewish community, towards our Federation partners and the agencies they support, and towards Israel. But we're biased in a way that anyone is biased towards anything that they love, respect, and care deeply about. We're dedicated to a big tent, but we won't be providing a platform for this or for this. Our core mandate is fighting this, which we believe is not a problem only for the Jewish people.
Because what begins with Jews never ends with Jews. So the work that this honorable committee is doing is about insulating all Canadians from the threat of hatred.
So no to anti-Semitism, but yes to this, and this. On this show, when we ask for views, we're asking people to share with us what they're seeing from where they are. Our very first guest is Sara Lefton, who has an excellent view into how the largest Jewish community in Canada is managing during the COVID-19 crisis.
UJA Federation is there to deal with the biggest problems facing the Jewish community. The problems that we were dealing with as a community in February look incredibly different from what we're dealing with today. In the immediate aftermath of COVID hitting our community, UJA had to pivot so quickly. We had families who didn't have access to food, who had never faced that kind of food insecurity before. We had people who were in isolation, and we had to make sure that our organization was set up in a way to help. The first thing that we decided to do was to mobilize more than 1,000 volunteers to help us with our effort. We've probably put together boxes for more than 2,500, almost 3,000 families. We've also called more than 20,000 community members doing wellness checks just to check in. We can't function on our own. We have to function as a collective. So in this instance, we launched the Emergency Campaign for Community Resilience. So far, we've raised about $44 million to date, and we know that we can help to meet the needs that are coming as a result of COVID. I just want to thank all of our donors and volunteers from the bottom of my heart. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Please don't hesitate to reach out to UJA in Toronto if you're looking to get involved. We really need you. I know that we have a lot more to accomplish. I know that we're just getting started, and we have some great momentum in being able to provide the assistance that people need.
Some of you may have noticed that Canadian Jewish Views sounds a lot like, well, you know. We called it Canadian Jewish Views because we wanted to create a place where Canadian Jews could share their views, so it made sense. Then we realized it rhymed with, well, you know. Any resemblance between the names started as a coincidence, but once we realized what we had done, we decided to keep it as a tip of the hat to a cherished Jewish community organization that has been serving the community for 6 decades. We have nothing but good things to say about Liz and Yoni and the entire team. And when it rises again, we will be among the first and loudest to applaud the return of the Canadian Jewish news. Enough about that, on to this. Kathy Assayag is the Executive Director of the Jewish Community Foundation of Montreal. I asked her to share what she and her colleagues are doing to help vulnerable people during the crisis.
This is an unprecedented crisis. People really need support, and it cannot wait. We didn't do the normal thing of trying to raise money and then deploying it. We actually decided as a board to decapitalize and dip into our reserve, and then deployed about $1,250,000 immediately. We partnered with Federation CJA, who understands the community needs. Within days, we were able to transfer monies to many food banks in the Jewish community. And we also immediately took care of food banks and relief in the broader community. So we took care of our community, of course, but we took care of the broader community as well, because it was the right thing to do. The best way for people to help right now would be to contribute to the Federation CJA COVID Relief Fund. We're all in this together. You're not alone, and let's be optimistic that things will get better. And while there's a need, we will respond and we will help people so that we can get through this together.
Everything we discuss on this show is available in the show notes below. So if you're looking for links or bios or how to get in touch, please check that out. Now, here is a beautiful photograph of Israel taken by my colleague, David Willett. And here are 3 things we recommend that you read if you want to know what's going on in Israel this week. The vision of the Reut Group is to foster a Jewish community that's resilient, prosperous, and makes a significant contribution to humanity. Here's Eran Shayshon, CEO of Reut, offering what I think is a nuanced observation about the BDS movement.
According to our analysis, almost all over the world, those who are leading the BDS campaign and the delegitimization movement are relatively very small in number. Namely, the ones that are motivated by anti-Israeli ideological zeal, the ones that are actually dreaming about Israel destruction at night. We understand that there are not so many. Their success emanates from their ability to garner the support of what we call the long tail of soft critics of Israel into acts of delegitimization. Namely, the BDS, for example, according to our impression, and by the way, you are more than welcome to challenge me if you think otherwise, our conclusion is that probably the vast majority of those who support BDS are not anti-Zionist, do not perceive themselves as anti-Zionist. Some of them even really believe that supporting BDS will promote peace.
Our goal is to release an episode of Canadian Jewish Views every week on Thursday. If you like what we're doing here at CJA, please sign up to our email list, follow us on social media. That will allow us to stay in touch and keep you informed about what your advocacy agent is doing. All the stuff that we talked about here today, links, articles, websites, are available in the show notes below. So if those are of interest to you, please check them out. If you want to share your views about this show, about CJA, about my COVID-19 haircut, please write to views@cja.ca. And finally, I'm going to have a quick look in the mailbag here. A viewer from Quebec asks, Martin, are you sort of Jewish? The answer? Yes, I am sort of Jewish. If you want to know how someone sort of Jewish, like me, ended up at the very center of the global Zionist conspiracy, tune in next week and I'll tell you all about it. I mean, not the conspiracy bit. That has to stay secret for reasons which should be obvious. But I will explain this whole silly answer when you tune in next week to Canadian Jewish Views. Before we go, words of wisdom from Rabbi Reuben Balke in Ottawa.
In these challenging times, we wonder how we're going to get through. There are no magic formulas, but the closest thing to a magical formula is this: the kinder that we are to each other, the better and the stronger we will emerge.